There's a strange quiet that settles over a franchise just before it realizes who it truly belongs to. And if you listen carefully right now in Toronto, you can hear that silence breaking. Not with noise, not with bravado, but with expectation. Because while spring training has been busy fawning over new faces and fresh storylines, the most important story has been standing in plain sight, adjusting his batting gloves, waiting for the lights to come back on. This is the Blue Jays Report, and today feels like the right moment to talk about what it really means that this is now Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s team. Not in theory, not in marketing slogans, but in reality. The contract is done, the supporting cast is changed, and the safety net of shared stardom is gone. For the first time since he arrived as a teenage phenomenon, there is no ambiguity about where the responsibility lives. It's almost funny how quietly this transition has happened. For years, Vladdy came up alongside other cornerstones, names that carried equal weight, equal pressure. Now, one by one, those names have faded into memory, and suddenly he's the longest-tenured Blue Jay in the room. The veteran, the constant, the guy everyone looks at when the game tightens and the air gets heavy. You could see it last October, couldn't you, when the postseason arrived and he didn't blink. What worries me, and excites me in equal measure, is how easily people seem to be forgetting what he just did. There's a dangerous comfort settling in around the idea that we already know who Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is. A tidy OPS, elite contact, respectable power, nothing to panic about. And yet, that version of him we saw in the playoffs didn't feel tidy at all. It felt ferocious. It felt like a door being kicked open. That wasn't a replay of 2021. That was something else entirely. The swings were quicker, the intent unmistakable. Fastballs were no longer being met politely, they were being punished. Balls were lifted with violence rather than rolled with patience. It was as if he finally allowed himself to chase damage instead of merely control. And once you've seen that version, it's impossible to pretend it doesn't exist. The numbers back it up in ways that almost make you laugh in disbelief. Analysts at MLB.com broke down the postseason surge, pointing to increased bat speed, fewer wasted swings, and most importantly, a dramatic rise in balls hit in the air. Against the New York Yankees, over 70% of his batted balls left the bat on an upward plane. Bigger number, better outcome. Baseball doesn't always make sense, but sometimes it really is that simple. This has always been the great contradiction of Vlad's career. You look at the underlying metrics, the exit velocity, the hard hit rates, the percentile rankings, and you wonder how the home run totals haven't been obscene every single year. The answer has usually lived in his launch angle, that stubborn tendency to keep missiles just low enough to find gloves. Shift that by even a few degrees, and suddenly a good season becomes a monstrous one. What makes this moment different is that there's evidence now, not hope. Evidence that when the stakes rise, when the moment demands it, he can flip that switch without sacrificing who he is as a hitter. Even John Schneider noticed it, hinting at an extra edge in October. Vladdy brushed it off, of course, insisting he's always been the same guy. And maybe he believes that, but humans are allowed to find new gears without announcing them. I actually take comfort in the way he's carrying himself right now. He's happier, lighter, openly enjoying the room. Stealing teammates' shoes, laughing through drills, talking about fun rather than pressure. Some will joke that a 9-figure contract has a way of lifting spirits, and sure, there's truth there, but for a player like him, joy has always been fuel, not distraction. The challenge now is simple and brutal at the same time. Can he bring even a fraction of that postseason urgency into April, into June, into the dog days when the calendar drags and the crowds thin? If he does, we're not talking about wishful thinking anymore. We're talking about a player entering his physical prime, armed with proof, confidence, and clarity. I'm not asking for a cartoonish OPS over 1.200 across 162 games. That's video game stuff. But flirt with .900. Let the home run total start with a 3. Lift the ball just a little more often. These aren't fantasies, they're logical extensions of what we've already seen him do against the very best pitching staffs in baseball. So, as this season begins, and as this franchise settles into its new shape, Remember this moment. Remember that leadership doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it simply steps forward when everyone else steps back. If you're enjoying this kind of deep dive perspective, give the video a like, share it with a fellow Jays fan, and subscribe to the Blue Jays Report so you don't miss what comes next. Because belief is easy, evidence is rare, and for the first time in a long time, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is giving us both.